I hope y'all stayed up to see Paul George last night. PG-13 went rated R on the Suns. But is Paul George getting the credit that he deserves? Find out next on First Take with me, Dominique Foxworth, our very own playoff P, NBA champion Kendrick Perkins, and refereeing the proceedings this morning is Charlie Arnold. Don't change the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. First Take right now, ESPN 2.
Chance to do something the franchise has not done in 28 years.
We just have to have a great deal of balance. We know we're going to see a desperate team.
Jackson goes hard and throws it down. A near perfect start for the Clippers.
Poised right now. You just got to stay the course.
Three-pointer. Bang! George on the pull-up. Nails a three.
Oh, George rolling.
Throws it down with authority.
That's just who we are. Fight. We scrappy. The most important thing, we do it together.
Look, I think we all spoke too soon because playoff P strikes again. That 41-piece wing dinner Cajun rub style, right, Per? That's what you called it. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome into First Take. I'm Charlie Arnold, joined by Dominique Foxworth and Kendrick Perkins. Guys, the question I asked you right when we got off the air yesterday, do we think Paul George is going to have a big game? The answer was no, and what do you know?
Oh, man, he embarrassed both of us because we both were like, nah, Paul George ain't got it, but he keeps bouncing back every week. That whole team, man, the whole team come down from 0-2, 0-2, and now 3-1. They keep fighting.
And Dominique, I also want to give you your props because you were in Stephen A's chair this morning doing the intro. So congratulations on that. That's what you wanted yesterday. So there you are.
That means I won yesterday.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, let's get right into it because last night's game was a thriller. The Clippers living to see yet another day. LA coming in hot. It was a complete reversal from Game 4. This time it was LA on the road, which jumped out early and never trailed. PG with the playoff performance of his career, 41 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists, the first Clipper to do so in history. So shake them haters off, right, PG?
You feel like, sometimes people pick on you a little bit more than, say, other stars?
I do. And it's the honest truth. It's a fact. But I can't worry about that. It's comes with the job, I guess. But it is what it is. I still try to go and dominate, whether I'm shooting the ball well or not shooting the ball well. I still try to dominate just the whole game in general.
I don't know where this trolling bull has come from, where the internet controls the narrative about these players. It's becoming foolish, man. Like I said earlier in the year, that's one of the most special players to ever lace his shoes up. Get this dude his flowers, man. I don't understand the slander. It's becoming quite silly now. Like, respect these players, man. Respect these greats.
And Paul George with a huge postseason so far, leading all players in points in minutes played and also ranking in the top 5 in rebounds and assists. Again, his 41 points last night were his career high in a postseason game. So Dominique, has Paul George cemented himself now as a superstar?
I mean, I think he's a superstar. I think he's like a second-tier superstar. He's not like up there with like LeBron and KD and Steph and those guys. And the numbers that he's putting up are like close to Jordan-like numbers this year in the playoffs. It's impressive. But I'm not about to say that he's Jordan. I think what he did last night was incredible. And that whole team has been special, frankly. Marcus Morris stepping up last night was awesome. Cousins giving them 15 points in like 10 minutes, it seemed like, was amazing. And Paul George putting up 41, obviously going off in the third quarter for 20 points, I think it was. He is great. He is outstanding. But let's not pretend like he's up there with Kawhi and those sorts of guys. And I don't think that's an insult. I think it's just a reality. And Paul George deserves a ton of credit. The mental strength, after he talked about dealing with like depression in the bubble last night, the mental strength that it takes to come back from like what Cousins was saying, all the online slander, for him to come back after missing big free throws in this series and to come back and have the confidence, frankly, to put up 41 is outstanding. So he deserves flowers, and I'm gonna give him his flowers. But I don't think that he's like top tier of the NBA like the guy on his team that they're missing. If Kawhi's out there, we think they're winning a championship. Without Kawhi, I don't think that Paul George is gonna be able to do that, which is fair. That's fine. It's not an insult. It's just where he ranks amongst the greats that are in the NBA right now?
Well, here we go again, Dominique. And look, one thing I'm going to give you your flowers about is you got a nice suit on. You looking like Lil Bootsy going to a wedding right now, okay? I'm going to give you props on that. But let me say this. Let me say this real quick. Right now, Paul George is in his bag like he got fries at the bottom, okay? And when you talk about superstars, I want to separate the difference. You're talking about Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. They are mega stars, okay? Paul George is a superstar. He's been a superstar. That's never been a knock on him. We talk about a guy that always that always make a case to be in the All-Star game. We talk about a guy that made the All-NBA team this year. We're talking about a guy right now that has elevated his game tremendously. This postseason, throughout the entire postseason, he's averaging around 25 points a night, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. When Kawhi went out, he elevated his game to 30 points a night, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. He's dominating in every form and fashion. And right now, look, I've been very critical of Paul George, but he is living up to his name right now, and he's doing everything and more. So to not call him a superstar this morning is very disturbing to me, and I love the way that you came on dressed. I love your delivery to announce First Take, Big Perk, Charlie, and all that, but you starting off on the wrong foot tonight because when it matters the most, Paul George is delivering.
Okay, I mean, this year, so far this season, he's been or this postseason, he's been delivering, but not every time. Like, they lost a couple games because he was not able to deliver at the free throw line in the previous game. So, like, I think that Paul George is outstanding, and I think that Paul George deserves his flowers. He deserves all the credit, but I feel like we aren't actually disagreeing. Like, I said that he is not a superstar, meaning that he doesn't climb to the level of Steph Curry, LeBron, KD, those type of guys, and you agree with me. He's a tier below that. Kawhi, those guys, he's a tier below that. Whether we call them superstars or megastars, like, to me, feels like semantics. But arguing like you are that he never has come up short, like, of course he's come up short. Everybody's come up short, even those megastars. KD just came up short in the last round. Like, they come up short. He comes up short sometimes. It's fair to be critical of him for those moments as long as you're fair and you celebrate him in his big moments, which is what we are doing, because what he did last night was special. And even though he probably did foul Chris Paul on that little push-off, that little chicken wing, hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with the homies. It was a great move, but it was probably illegal, but it was still, oh, that thing is nasty. I hate those screenshots that they got flowing online against my man Chris right now from that moment. But Paul George deserves all of the credit, but you and I agree, Perk. He's a step below those names that I was naming, like KD, Kawhi, LeBron, like those guys. He's a little bit below them, right?
Well, look, I'm already having high blood pressure problems because I need to lose weight, and you're not helping the situation right now. For the simple fact is that I just told you that it's a difference. Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant are megastars. Megastars is way different than superstars. It's a lot of superstars in the league today. Guys like Trae Young, guys like Luka Doncic, guys like Paul George. Kawhi and Paul George right now are in the same category, if you ask me. What Paul George is doing right now and how he's leading the Clippers right now without Kawhi Leonard, just think about it. They only knocked off the Utah Jazz, who happen to have the best record in the NBA, the #1 seed overall, without.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right about all that. I'm not disagreeing with you, but we are in, like, First Take. This is like Uber First Take, because right now we are arguing about semantics. Like, we agree. He's a tier below. Yes, I'll put him in the conversation with those guys that you mentioned, but yeah, we all agree. He's a tier below. If I call him a superstar or a megastar, a mini star, a supernova, whatever you want to call him, we are on the same page. He's not those other guys, but he deserves credit. I'm not trying to take anything from him. Yes, he is as good as many of those players you named. He is not on the same level as Kawhi. So just stop that. Like, Kawhi got hurt, but but you act like you can't remember what Kawhi was doing in the last round, in the round before that, in the season before that, in the seasons before that. Like, it takes consistency, and it takes being clutch in those big moments time and time again. Paul George has been clutch recently. He's also fallen short recently, which is not a knock on him. I'm just saying he's not on the top level with those other guys, even though they all come up short from time to time. We fundamentally agree. I'm not about to sit up here and argue with you about megastar versus superstar versus mini star. Like, yes, he is very good. He's a step below those names that I mentioned. You agree with me. We're on the same page. Let me tighten up my boosty tie.
No, we're not on the same page. And one thing about it is you are going to argue and debate with me because I'm right here on the same set with you. And do we have short-term memory? Do we remember Paul George in Indiana? Do we remember Paul George pushing that super team, Big Three, the Miami Heat to 7 games when he was delivering great fashion? Yes, he had a drop-off in the playoffs. But let's not forget, when he went to Oklahoma City, this guy was in the MVP. He finished second in the MVP run-up. He has phenomenal regular seasons. He just have a drop-off in playoffs. But this year, right now, today, is what we're talking about. Paul George is a superstar.
Playoffs is where we define these guys. You can't consistently have drop-offs in the playoffs and expect me to talk about you the same way I talk about those other guys. Like, he is balling right now.
I guess the regular season don't matter. I guess the regular season don't matter.
Of course it matters. Of course it matters. You know it matters. I agree it matters. But we all know that there's a difference. There's a level you can get to for regular season performance, and then there's another level. And you have to do that in the postseason.
God bless your heart.
Well, this conversation is exactly why PG recognizes he's one of the most trolled players in the league. But look, we have to recognize the Clippers brought their A game last night because in Game 4, they had 36 points in the entire first half. Last night, they had 36 points in the first quarter alone. And, of course, we saw PG 41 points. That is a playoff career high for him. All right, we got to go. We still have a lot more to come up on First Take. Scottie Pippen dropping a bomb, calling Phil Jackson racist. Perk and Dominique react and break down Scottie's wild past week in the media. Plus, who was the most important player in tonight's Bucks-Hawks Game 4? Do the guys disagree? Of course they do. The fireworks yell tonight. The Bucks leading the series 2-1 and are in search of their third straight win. Chris Middleton is coming off a big 38-point game. Meanwhile, Trae Young listed as questionable with a bone bruise in his right foot, but told reporters yesterday he plans to play. Neek, who's the most important player in Game 4 tonight?
Oh, it's easy. We just saw him. That guy limping back from the locker room. Trae is the only guy that matters for that Hawks team. You can look over at the Bucks and you can see like a legitimate big three. And I mean no disrespect to the guys on the Hawks team, but they don't really have a legitimate big three. They got Trae and a bunch of really, really good young role players who are rising to the occasion. But if Trae doesn't show up, they don't stand a chance. Like, if he's not close to 100%, like, I get it. Nobody's 100% this time of year. But if he's limping around, hobbling, and not getting lift on his shot like he was in the fourth quarter of that last game, they don't stand a chance. Like, he's got to run that pick and roll and hit those little teardrops and set those alley-oops up to set up the open shots for guys on the perimeter. Like, that is their offense. So if he doesn't show up, they're an entirely different team. But I can look over on the other side, and you could take one or two of those guys off the team and still have somebody that you can build a team around. So I don't know. I assume we're having this topic because Kendrick disagrees, but I'm not sure how you can possibly disagree with that. Like, they're the most important person in this game is obviously Trae Young, right?
Well, no, not right. I mean, look, you said a lot of good things, and I'm not totally disagreeing with you. Trae Young is the most important player to the Atlanta Hawks, and that's the obvious, right? But who's picked to win this series? The Milwaukee Bucks. Who has the most talent? The Milwaukee Bucks. Who has the big three? The Milwaukee Bucks. Only 2 of those guys have shown up, and that's Chris Middleton and Giannis. Drew Holiday. Where in the hell are you, okay? You are supposed to be one of the best two-way players in the game today. Right now, you're not guarding anybody because Trae Young is having it his way. I believe he dropped 40 on you in Game 1 or whatever the case may be. He's probably averaging around 35 or 36 in the goddamn series. Where are you on the defensive side of things? Offensively, Trae Young, what are you doing? I mean, Drew Holiday, what are you doing? Trae Young is a smaller guard. Take him to the low block. We all know how gifted Trae Young is offensively, but defensively, he can't guard a park car. 2 for 11. They brought him here to be the one to get them over the hump. Drew Holiday, where are you? You are nowhere to be found right now. I'm seeing too many careless turnovers, too many missed layups, just playing careless basketball. You have to deliver. If Drew Holiday elevates his game, the Bucks win this game tonight, and they win the series in great fashion. That's why Drew Holiday, in my opinion, is the most important player in this series.
I think Drew definitely wants to step up. And I think the Bucks want to see him step up, but you're arguing against yourself a little bit right there. They win in the series without him showing up in the way that you expect him to be. So to me, that kind of proves the point that he is not nearly as important as Trae Young is. We saw what happened to that team when Trae Young went out, and we all know what will happen to that team if Trae Young can't do the things that he's been doing. So I'm with you. Drew Holiday, we expect more from him given how much they gave up to get him and given what they expect from that team, but they expect to win the series. They're on track to win this series, so it's hard for me to I guess you could say there's more pressure on Drew Holiday because they have these expectations, but it's hard for me to say that he's more important than Trae Young, and honestly, it's hard for me to say he's more important than Middleton or Giannis because they're winning on the backs of Middleton, on the back of Giannis, and the only game that the Hawks won and their only chance of winning is if Trae Young shows up and plays like the superstar that he has become this year in the playoffs. So Drew Holiday is important, but not that important.
Dominique, you really need to stop, man. You really need to stop. They paid this man $160 million. You don't think he's that important? He's pretty damn important, okay? And for the simple fact is this, and I'm going to go back to the defensive side of things. He's supposed to be able to come in and neutralize Trae Young. Drew Holiday, acts around the NBA, well respected, one of the most underrated defenders in the league, first team all defense. You are not supposed to be letting Trae Young hang 40s and 35s on you. If Trae Young don't get injured, I don't know which direction that game would have went in. But I know one thing, Trae Young was controlling the game. The Hawks had control before Trae Young twisted his ankle. So with that being said, Drew Holiday, that's your matchup. That's your position. You're the point guard. And then on the other end, you're running the show. You're supposed to be that third option guy or even at times the second option guy. You can't be delivering 2 for 11 when you have Trae Young or Hurd or whoever else is trying to guard you. You are better than that. It's just not getting it. It's not good enough. You're the deciding factor.
Yeah, I don't know how Drew Holiday can be first team all defense and underrated. Maybe he should have been defensive player of the year. I don't know. Maybe he is still underrated even though he's first team defense. But I think you made a great point. The Hawks were on track for winning that game until Trae got hurt. And Drew Holiday hasn't contained Trae. The reason why they brought him in there is to contain players like that. So I think that is fair. I think you can expect more from him, and 2 for 11 is not. Go ahead, Perk.
Dominique, Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. If you ask around the league, they'll tell you that. He don't get enough praise. Yes, he made first team all defense. I get that, or whatever the case may be. But when you ask around the league, they'll tell you, hey, Drew Holiday don't get enough credit for what he brings to the table. And he was brought to this team from the New Orleans Pelicans in a trade for Eric Bledsoe to move the needle and elevate the Milwaukee Bucks to get them over the hump, okay?
Look, you're both right.
They are getting over the hump.
Trae Young's offense and Drew Holiday's defense, because the Hawks right now, they're 4-1 in the postseason when Trae Young scores 35 points or more. They're 5-5 when he fails to score at least 35 points. So you both made very good points. You're both right. What do you know? All right, let's move on because, listen, it has been a wild offseason for the Mavs, and it is not even July. How has the shuffle in Dallas made Luka look? The guys wonder if we might have a diva on our hands. Plus, Scottie Pippen has been in the spotlight this past week for some shocking takes, most notably one on Phil.
Did someone say first take in the afternoon? want some of this?
Wait. I get to battle Stephen A. in the midday?
You want some of this?
Getting close to your bedtime. You gonna be okay?
Step into me, kid, then you go.
Guys, please save it for tomorrow. That's right, 2 afternoon special editions of First Take starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern only on ESPN. Don't miss it.
Nothing better than 2 first takes in one day. Hello, welcome back to this First Take, coming to you live from the Seaport District in New York City, brought to you by Chase. Woo, Scottie Pippen has been chirping last week, calling out KD and Doc Rivers, and even First Take. And then yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show, Pippen discussed the 1994 play in which Phil Jackson drew up a game-winning play for teammate Tony Kukoc instead of himself, and had some very harsh words. Listen.
Have you talked to Phil about this? Because by saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, Perk, what's your reaction to these comments?
Well, first of all, every time I see a photo, a video of Scotty, he has the damn bourbon sitting right on the side of him. And so with that being said, that's one thing that's disturbing to me. And I'm being dead serious right now, okay? Look, I don't understand what's going on with Scotty right now, and I really don't care. Seems like he's just venting, he's letting it all out. Maybe he need a reality show, I don't know. Real Housewives of Atlanta may need to, talk to him, or whatever the case may be. I don't care. But to call Phil Jackson a racist.
Well, I feel like Perk and I are probably on the same page here. I don't know Phil Jackson. He may be a racist, but I don't think that it's fair to call him racist because he drew up a play for Tony Kukoc. He drew up a lot of plays for Michael Jordan, and I think that Perk was on to something. Scotty trying to sell this liquor hard. I hope somebody buy it, because he's saying all types of crazy stuff. All the way back to last week, where he did an interview for GQ with Tyler Tynes. He was talking crazy about KD. He coming at everybody. He trying to get some attention for this book or this liquor. I don't know what he wants people to buy, but please buy it so he will stop saying crazy stuff on TV and in print, because I can't get it. You could point to something else that Phil Jackson has done. You maybe even point to Phil Jackson calling LeBron's crew a posse, but drawing up a play for Tony Kukoc. Kukoc can shoot. That ain't a bad idea. We never thought about Scotty as like the game closer type of guy. I understand being offended by that. I understand being mad, but taking a leap from that to saying the man is racist, it could be a long jump. And again, I don't know. Maybe Phil is racist, but he ain't racist because he drew up a play for Tony, one of the best European players we've seen in the NBA.
Right, and I've been around Phil Jackson a few times, played against him. I played with Derek Fisher in Oklahoma City, who won championships with Phil Jackson, and he had nothing but high praise for Phil. He said Phil was a great coach, great guy to be around. He was down to earth. So far as me knowing him as being a racist, I never heard any of his players call him that. But I will say this. I did start looking at Phil a little sideways when he addressed LeBron James, Maverick Carter, Randy, and Rich Paul, and called his crew and called LeBron James a group of people, some very intelligent, wealthy guys, African American guys, a posse. I did have a problem with that. But right now, this is all about Scottie Pippen. This is nothing about Phil Jackson. This is about Scottie Pippen and what the hell is going on with him. Somebody need to find him, have a conversation, or sit down. I don't know what's happening with Scottie, but God bless his heart. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think the best read on this is Scottie understands the media. And Scottie understands the more inflammatory things he says, the more attention he's going to get. And once we get him attention, then we can see that bottle that's sitting next to him. He can sell some of that, or he can sell the books or whatever. That's all he's trying to do. He's trying to make a couple dollars, and we helping him by doing that. So he did the right thing. He's saying wild stuff so we can come on and talk about it.
Well, I tell you what, Dominique and Charlie, if that bourbon is going to have you speaking crazy like that, I don't want no parts of it.
I don't know. I feel like most bourbons could have you speaking crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not a bourbon girl, but I feel like I've seen
Well,
a thing or two in my day.
I wasn't before the pandemic started, but man, we had to get through it somehow, Charlie. We had a little bourbon, but I ain't messing with that Scotty bourbon. That Scotty bourbon a little too strong for me.
Yeah,
but,
a little too strong. A little too strong for everybody. Okay, well, we'll leave. You have something else you want to say, Perk?
No. You got it, Charlie.
Okay, all right, we'll leave that drama there
Scotty
because
bourbon hit different.
it does hit different. Because we actually have more drama that we're going to have to discuss coming up on First Take, believe it or not, because Luka Doncic now has a new GM and a new head coach thanks to Mark Cuban. But will that be enough to make the young superstar happy? All eyes on Luka next on First Take. Plus, Cam Newton addresses the haters. The guys coming through with how they deal with shade and whether Cam is deserving of what he's getting. Stay with us. After a first-round exit, the offseason kicking off with a story published by The Athletic about turmoil between star Luka Doncic and the front office. Not long after the team parted ways with general manager and president of basketball operations Donnie Nelson, whom Luka was very close with. And also, Nico Harrison took over. Also, longtime head coach Rick Carlisle stepping down and was replaced with Jason Kidd. Then a story this week emerges about Luka and Porzingis. According to Mark Cuban, Luka and Kristaps Porzingis have had dust-up since Porzingis arrived in Dallas. Rumors are they simply don't like each other. However, Porzingis was denying Mark Cuban's claims and said he has no issues with Luka. So Luka Doncic still only 22 and a rising star, averaging 35.7 points per game in the playoffs. That makes him the youngest player in NBA history to average 35 points a game in a postseason. He broke the record previously held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, so we had it wrong all along. Big D apparently stands for drama. Neek, how do these issues make Luka look?
I mean, he looks fine. It's not a big deal. It makes Mark Cuban look bad more than anyone. Luka, we're going to determine how we view Luka based on how many championships he wins. It's funny that you guys put up that list of, was it Kareem and Jordan, who scored as much as Luka has at this point in his career? Kareem and Jordan were both guys who people were critical about the way that they behaved and the way that they talked to their teammates and the way they talked to the media. But they won championships, so we remember them fondly. The same thing will happen for Luka. That's all that matters. We will write a story or we will build mythology around him as being an intense competitor if he wins championships and he's a little bit, and he doesn't get along with everybody. If he doesn't, then we'll write a story about how he's the problem. But in actuality, the person who it seems like looks worse right now is Mark Cuban. I'm not sure why you would share with the media that your two biggest stars have some beef. That doesn't seem like it helps anybody. And we see their organization kind of falling apart with the GM being fired and then the coach stepping down and all these stories leaking. That speaks to me, that speaks to Mark Cuban being able to run the organization well. It doesn't speak to me, or it doesn't speak to the 22-year-old superstar somehow messing this all up. So Luke will be fine. He'll keep getting better. They'll win some games and he'll mature some, and we'll recognize that Luka is a great young player. But the organization dysfunction, you can't blame that on Luka. It seems to me like that goes all the way up to the top.
Well, Dominique, look, I agree. Mark Cuban should take some ownership of what's going on as far as with the whole organization and what's going on in Dallas. But I can't just let Luka off the hook for this right now. Something is going on with Luka. Rick Carlisle stepped down after Mark Cuban went out public and said, this is our coach. And for Rick Carlisle to step away, that's...
Yeah, I mean...
Listen, Dominique, listen,
Yeah.
Looking at the body language from playing a team sport, you could tell from the body language of others that are around your superstar if they are pleased and happy on what's going on. And from the looks of it, I don't see a lot of high-fiving. I don't see a lot of chest bumping. I see it being the Luka Doncic show. And it's fine because, look, he's a hell of a player. He's probably going to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying there, Perk. It comes down to Luka, and I mean, I haven't been studying the body language, but when I kind of roll back in my mental Rolodex, they aren't there high-fiving as much as other teams. But I think part of that is because they aren't that good. I think Porzingis isn't the player that he was before the injury, and I think that adds to the reason why there might be some issues. So I'm not saying that Luka doesn't deserve any criticism, and I'm not saying that Luka doesn't need to mature some, but I think he will. It's hard for me to look at everything that's going on in Dallas right now and somehow put the responsibility on the 22-year-old superstar who's headed into his 4th season. Like, he deserves to take some responsibility, and I'm sure he will mature and get better, and he'll recognize that being the leader of the team is not just scoring the most points and getting the most assists and getting triple doubles. It's about kind of managing the emotions of the locker room and making sure everybody's comfortable, make sure everybody's happy, making sure everybody eats. Like, that's part of the job. It's a lot to ask a guy who's 22 years old who's only 22 years old to do all of that. And I think he'll grow into that. He'll acknowledge that he needs to do that. But right now, if we're looking at anybody to blame, like, it seems the organizational dysfunction goes up to the top. And Luka deserves a little bit of blame and he'll grow from it. But if we're looking at one person to point the finger at, it's the person who can't seem to keep his organization. And that's not even to mention the dysfunction that they had with the way that they were treating women in the organization a couple years ago. Like, there's a lot of reason to believe that they need to run a tighter ship down there in Dallas, and that ain't on Luka.
No, I agree with you. I didn't say all of it was on Luka, and a lot of it is on Mark Cuban, because you want me to tell you why? For the simple fact that, I think Mark Cuban gave too much to Luka. He put too much in his hands, meaning having control, being able to do what he do, catering to Luka. In that. It's a certain way, I get it. You get special privileges when you're a superstar, but you can't make it that noticeable. And Mark Cuban really dropped the ball by going out and speaking in public, saying that him and Porzingis, his 2 superstars, or 2 young stars on that team, his Batman and Robin, is having beef. That's just something that you got to keep in-house. So Mark Cuban, we already know that he's loose at the lips, but he also has to do a great job of controlling himself, getting this stuff in order, because he has a young star. And if he keeps this up in the direction that the Dallas Mavericks is going, they're going to lose Luka.
Yeah, I think it's very clear just from all of his complaining to the refs throughout the entire season. He's a very emotional guy. He has enough self-awareness to realize that and says, he needs to get better on that front. So hopefully he has some self-awareness, whatever the situation might be, and he can better himself, whatever the case might be. We're obviously on the outside here. So, all right, guys, let's keep it moving, because we have another player to evaluate, because Cam Newton, he's brushing those haters off, and we have some haterade for you when we return. Cam Newton talks being shaded. Perk has a response you can't miss. Q&A posted on QB coaches George Whitfield's Instagram. Cam had this to say, reacting to the haters. Quote, "Feed your focus. Feed it. If the hate ain't in my focus, I don't feed it. I feed off of it, but I don't feed it. It's 2 different things. When I sense or when I dwell on hatred, that's the product that's going to come out. Rage, anger. But that's the hatred using me, not me using the hatred. I want to process that and make that fuel me." Wow, that was a mouthful. The man gets very deep. We all know that. So Perk, look, this is how he reacts to the haters. How do you react to the haters?
But if you ain't happen, you don't have haters.
Truth.
And guess what? Straight up, look, I embrace the hate. I love it. Look, when I was playing, I'm going to go back to my playing days. KG always used to say, when you have a good game or you do something good or whatever the case may be, and you rush to the newspaper articles or to the television, you want to hear them talk good about you, do the same when they talk bad about you, because that elevates you. Now that I'm in the media game, I get hated on by so many people. Oh, Perk, he speak with broken English. Perk, he mumbles a lot. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I'm going to keep doing me, because guess what? The television want to see authenticity. The television want to see the real. I'm going to be myself. So keep hating. You keep shining. That's what you do. You use fuel and you shine on them haters. And where they can't sleep at night, they tossing and turning because they want to be in your shoes. Use that as fuel to the fire. Carry on.
That was bananas. I appreciate it. I appreciated every second of that. I appreciate the authenticity. All of that was great. You are right. But, Charlie, you didn't ask me, but I'm going to answer anyway.
No, I want to know.
I don't have the same level of haters as Cam or as Kendrick does, apparently, because I wasn't no number 1 overall pick or MVP quarterback, so I don't get that much hate. What I get in the street is people saying, don't you look familiar? Like, I know you from somewhere. So not enough people know me to hate on me. I really don't get too much hate. Most of the time, people just like, hey, you ESPN, that's right. You on ESPN? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on ESPN.
I also did something else.
You want to take a picture? So I really don't got too much hate to fuel me. Most people, and especially when I was a player, like, I think Perk's point is right. When I played well, people said you played well. When I played poorly, people said you played poorly. And I didn't consider them haters. They were just telling facts. I wasn't awesome all the time, but the guys who are like big time, high profile players, people have something to say no matter what. They're going to have an opinion. They are jealous. They want to be them. That ain't me. I'm sure a lot of people watch this show and then they look at me and they're like, man, now I'm jealous because damn, that dude's handsome. But other than that, I don't got too many people hating. It's all right. They're just moving on.
I mean, we all get it. You say one
you-
thing wrong, people go off on you. You do everything right, you don't hear a word about it. So, Perk.
You know what? You know what haters are, right? Haters are people that are mad because they not where they want to be in life, and they try to point the finger at everybody else instead of looking themselves in the mirror. Like, I had to address some people on Twitter, like the numbers on the house, saying, oh yeah, they hired Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson at ESPN, and there's quote unquote so many African American journalists out there that been trying to thrive their way up to the top. Don't blame me. You might need to reevaluate yourself. I'm just doing Big Perk. You might need to switch up some things that you're doing. Don't blame me for the position that I'm in because I'm being me. Maybe you need to take a look at yourself in the mirror, reevaluate yourself, cleanse your soul. Cleanse your soul because you'll never get anywhere in life having a dirty soul, all right? And that's the gospel for today to all the haters out there.
I
Keep
mean,
hating.
you can't help it. You're always bringing that extra. Okay, guys.
And I'm going to keep bringing it.
Keep bringing it, please. Rub style, if you will. Look, I want to talk about Game 4 one more time before we go off the air. Giannis, Middleton. Yesterday we had a debate. Who's the Batman? Who's the Robin? Tonight, who do you believe is going to be Batman and who will be Robin? Perk?
Well, you know what, Charlie? I've been getting a lot of heat from my peers, my guys, my former coaches, and saying, Perk, kill all that Batman and Robin.
They done
literally,
cut 'em out.
yeah, we'll kill the conversation. There you go.
It looks like the haters have won today. One win
No,
for the
they
haters.
never win. They will never win.
Hey,
No,
they
they're not-
blacked Perk out. They got the dub.
Hey, listen,
Always
Dominique,
back.
it's not hating, man. It's not hating. It's called constructive criticism. Okay, so look, I'm going to go with Giannis to dominate tonight. They don't have an answer for him. I'm going to go with Giannis to dominate. I said he should average 40 in this series. John Collins can't guard him. Capella can't guard him. No one that could guard Giannis. Giannis should have a field day tonight. I'm going with Giannis to dominate tonight in Game 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I was on the other side of that Batman Robin discussion, so I'm gonna stick with my guy Giannis. He's been the guy that they built this around. He's the guy that they are scared is gonna leave if they don't do right by him. So he's the guy who needs to and will come up big tonight, and he's been coming up pretty big all playoffs. It's fair to be critical of him for his shooting, especially at the free throw line and how long it takes him. But he's the guy. He is their offense and he is their defense. He's the guy who's going to come up big tonight if they're going to win, and I think he does. Starts and gets them to the house real early so they can rest up because ain't nobody feeling good on this shortened off season right into another season, right into the playoffs. That is going to impact the NBA Finals, I think. So the Suns missed a chance last night to get closer to them getting some rest, and I think that the Bucks are going to get closer to that also. They're not going to miss this opportunity. I don't see them let the Hawks get another one in this series.
Well, it will be their third straight win should they get the win again tonight. And
Haters win again.
Nick, earlier in the show, you had said that Trae Young is the most important player in this game. The haters will never win. Listen to me. You said that Trae Young was going to be the most important player in this game. Look, he has a bruised right foot. He said he's going to play, but do you see him being ultra productive like he has been, minus the last quarter of the game 3?
I think I'm not going to say ultra productive, but I think that Trae Young has showed a lot of people not only how talented he is, but how smart he is. So I think he finds a way to be productive and to help his team, but I think that he needs to be closer to full strength for them to win. So I don't think Trae is going to hurt his team, because when they take away certain things, Trae finds a way to impact the game. Even when his shot is not falling, when they're doubling him out of the pick and roll, when they drop off the pick and roll, he hits the threes on occasion when he's feeling good about it. He seemed to have an answer for all the problems that defenses have tried to present to him. So I think that he'll have an answer for what to do with a sore ankle, a bruised foot, but I don't think that's going to be enough to win tonight.
Okay, well, we will find out what happens tonight. There he is. There he is. See, the haters, they'll never win.
Charlie, Dominic, I just want to know who's hating down there in ESPN and keep blacking out my shot.
All right, guys, we have a lot going on tomorrow. Ja Morant joining the show in the morning, and, of course, a double dose of First Take later on in the afternoon. So a lot to look forward to. Everybody, thank you so much. Take them haters off. See you later.
What's going on, my good people? It's your boy, Big Perk. I'm hosting First Take today, filling in for the great Stephen A. We have our girl, Charlie. She's filling in for Molly. And Dominique Foxworth, I feel sorry for his loss. He's filling in for Max Kellerman. We're going to talk about who would you start a franchise with, Trae Young or Luka Doncic? First Take starts now. You don't want to miss it.
It's exciting to be able to go back home.
I gotta enjoy each game.
We got a chance to bounce back. You gotta be ready.
Just move on up. Nobody picked him up. Now takes a deep three and drills it. What a start for the Hawks.
They came out aggressive. They threw a big punch.
Giannis dunks it with a right hand. How do you stop that freight train? Middleton buries another one.
Whoa, the Chris Middleton show.
We just stuck with it. Kept trying to grind them down. Finally, they started dropping for me at the right time, so I'm thankful for that.
How quickly things can change. Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to First Take on this beautiful Monday. I'm Charlie Arnold. We got Dominique Foxworth and Kendrick Perkins in the building. Gentlemen, how you doing today? You both look excellent in your different shades of what we have. Gray, the blues, looking good.
Doing the best I can. I'm hanging in there.
I'm doing well, Charlie. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Okay, guys,
we have... Good morning to you only, Charlie.
Oh, okay. I see where this is going.
Who determined who's in which seat? How come you get the Stephen A seat and I'm in the Max seat? I don't know if I agree with that. I declare that I'm filling in for Stephen A and you filling in for Max.
Okay, well, we'll see how this goes. Maybe, Dominic, you'll get the intro next time. But, guys, we have 1 hour. We have a lot to get to, so it's kind of going to be like, the Fast and the Furious, but we got this. So, look. We're all in different places right now, but I know all of us tuned into the same game last night. It saw the Bucks take a 2-1 series lead on the road. The fourth quarter was the difference maker. The Tides shifted with about 8 minutes left in the fourth. Trae Young stepped out of bounds on a referee's foot. He tweaked his ankle. He left him ineffective really the rest of the game, and it was almost as if Chris Middleton smelled the blood, hitting a trio of threes in less than 2 minutes. He ended up finishing with 38 points. The Bucks outscoring the Hawks 30-17 in the final. Look, how you feeling, Chris?
It's hurting. It's frustrating. When I came back in, it was just kind of sore, and I made me mad. I couldn't really go as fast as I wanted to, and then when I did, it hurt. So just gotta get treatment, and hopefully it feels better for next game.
I think once I realized I had 2 in a row, just told myself to keep trying to find a shot to get up, knowing that I was gonna have a good chance of getting in. That's how I was thinking at that time.
All right, Middleton going off. So, Perk, what did Middleton prove last night?
What I've been preaching time and time again, that he's the Batman of this team and Giannis is the Robin. And look, it's okay to be the Robin. People think that's a bad thing. It's not. Okay, we all know that Giannis is a guy that could dominate the paint. He could get to the paint when he wants. But when it matters the most, we have seen time and time again that Giannis freezes up in the big moments. But when it matters the most, you could put the ball in Chris Middleton's hands and he delivers in great fashion. He's a guy that can create for his own. He's a shot maker. He shoots about 90% from the free throw line. He gets the job done. Last night, did you see him, Charlie? Did you see him, Foxworth? He went for 20 in the fourth. And when they were down, he took over the game. And Giannis said it after in his post-game interview. Hey, look, It don't even matter, man. If Chris want to take it over in the fourth, let him do it. You know what that told me? That Giannis even knows that he's the Batman on his team, Chris Middleton.
That's a stretch. So we're going to start off with some wild takes. I've heard you said that before in the past. So Chris Middleton is great. He proved last night that he can be big in big moments. But first of all, you said being called a Robin is not an insult. It absolutely is an insult to a two-time MVP. Robin don't even got no pants. They send that man out there in bikini shorts with boots on. That's not the way you would treat a Batman. Batman got pants, and the person who wears the pants on that team is obviously the almost 7-foot Giannis Antetokounmpo. That whole team is built around him. You know why Chris Middleton can go off on occasion? Because they devise entire defenses to slow down Giannis. And yes, he's not perfect. He struggles from the free throw line, and his three-pointers, I think, 17% in the playoffs. They are bad. He is not perfect, but he is obviously the person who this team is built around. And you know how I can absolutely prove it? If I haven't proven it so far, I can prove it like this. At the end of this season, or at the end of both of their careers, no one is going to look at Giannis, say they never won a championship. No one's going to look at Chris Middleton and say, Chris Middleton never won a championship. They're going to look at the two-time NBA MVP and measure his career by how many championships he won. That's only something that we do to Batman. We don't count up all of Pippen's championships, even though he won 6 and he was great. That's not something we do. That's how I know that Giannis is the Batman of this situation and is the star of that team. It's not even a debate.
See, and Foxworth, that lets me further know that while you were out doing other things last night, and this is why you're sitting in Max Kellerman's seat, because you probably wasn't even watching the game of basketball, okay? Last night watching the game, because if you were watching the game, then you can't sit up here and come here this morning and say, oh no, Chris Middleton don't look like the Batman. Chris Middleton don't look like the more skilled player. Chris Middleton don't look like he embraces the moment when it matters the most. I'm not saying overall career. I'm talking about right now on this Milwaukee Bucks team, Chris Middleton is the Batman. I saw Giannis on a couple of occasions last night when he went to the free throw line and the crowd started chanting and counting down, how long he was at the free throw line. And he shot airball free throws. He shot an airball three-pointer. But when they were down 6 or 7 points, Chris Middleton said, give me the damn basketball, and he took over. That's what Batmans do.
Well, it's one game. I give you that. Last night, Chris Middleton was more important to them. But throughout these entire playoffs, and throughout the recent history of this franchise, the guy who leads them in points, rebounds, and he gets more assists than Chris Middleton. The guy who leads this team, the anchor to the defense. So we're not even going to talk about how Chris Middleton, at best, is probably, at best, he's close. He's not even close to what Giannis contributes on the defensive end of the ball. You got to roll your eyes at me. You as a center don't appreciate rim protection.
Oh, first of all, don't give me that about rim protection, because Giannis is the secondary rim protector to Brook Lopez, and don't even bring up defense when you talk about them. Go pull up the stats. Go pull up the data. Don't even talk to me about Giannis. Don't even talk to me about Giannis and defense. Please don't, because you know what? I'm gonna take you back into last series alone. When it was time to guard Kevin Durant in Game 7, you know who was checking Kevin Durant? It was Chris Middleton. You know who was delivering buckets on the other end in the fourth quarter going toe-to-toe with KD? It was Chris Middleton. Giannis didn't check KD one time throughout the whole entire series.
Their best and most effective lineup is when Giannis is at the 5, offensively and defensively. So maybe you're going to say that Lopez is their primary rim protector, but when it's winning time, Giannis is the rim protector. And pulling Giannis away from the basket to guard Kevin Durant is not what's best for the team. So I'm with you. In that moment, it looks like you can pick these isolated moments, but if we open up the league to a draft right now, Giannis is getting picked before Chris Middleton because Giannis is better and more valuable to the team. Like, I understand all these shortcomings that Giannis has, and I understand that Chris Middleton is cooking in the playoffs right now. But let's not pretend like Chris Middleton is better than Giannis. That's the argument you're making, that somehow he's better?
I said he's more skilled, and I'm gonna end on this note. When I used to do crazy things or say things that I shouldn't have said, my grandmother used to tell me, "God bless your heart, baby. You don't know no better." And that's how I feel about you right now.
That I don't know no better. Okay, so please, we're GMs in the same league, and now I got Giannis or you got Giannis on your team. I got Chris Middleton on my team, and I'm gonna say let's trade him, and you're gonna be like, yeah, sign it, send it to the league, fax it over to the league office right now.
Listen, I was almost about to call you Max. Dominique, listen what I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now in the moment, I'm talking about this season. I'm not saying who would you start a franchise with. I'm saying in this moment in the Eastern Conference Finals, when you have been watching the Milwaukee Bucks team play, Chris Middleton has been the Batman.
Right.
He's delivered
so
when it mattered the most.
All I'm saying is you can't call that a Batman. Robin saved the day once or twice. That don't mean that he's Batman. Batman is the one that all of Gotham relies on. That's who Giannis is. Everyone's relying on him game in and game out. And Chris Middleton is stepping up recently. I appreciate it. He is great. I'm not trying to denigrate him. He's awesome. But he ain't Batman.
All right, well, I guess the roles can be debated, but Middleton does continue to step up. With that performance last night, Middleton became the first Bucks player with a 20-point fourth quarter in the past 25 seasons. Also, the last Bucks player in the last 25 seasons to have a 20-point quarter in any point of the game. That was also Chris Middleton. So he does continue to step up, showing his dominance in the postseason. But guys, we got a lot to get to. I told you we only have 1 hour here on First Take, so let's keep it rolling. Chauncey Billups officially named the Blazers head coach, but some people question whether this hire was a good look for the league. That is because of his past. The guys debate. The Suns are 1 win away from the NBA Finals, and Devin Booker has been leading the way, averaging a team-high 27 per game this postseason, the third most in a single postseason in franchise history. DeAndre Ayton making his own history this postseason, shooting nearly 71% from the field. That's the highest field goal percentage in a single postseason in the shot clock era. And then there's Chris Paul, who continues to be a floor general, leading the team in assists per game. His assist to turnover ratio this postseason is the 5th best in the last 40 years. All right, so we have a lot to choose from. So, Nick, who is the most valuable as far as the success of the Suns is concerned?
All right, so I'm not going to pick Chris Paul, even though he is the smartest guy on that team and the most experienced. I'm not even going to go with Devin Booker, even though he's the best scorer and the most skilled. Of their big three, I'm going with the big man. I'm going with DeAndre Ayton, because it seems to me that the skills that he has can't be replicated by anybody else on that team. No one is better at running the team than Chris Paul. But we've seen Devin Booker serviceably be a point guard and distributor and run the pick and roll and all that stuff. No one scores as well as Booker. But we've seen Campaign come out and cook for a hot minute and do things like that. Nobody can do what DeAndre Ayton can do on that team as far as rebounding, giving them offensive rebounds, which is just as good as turnovers, giving them the ball back in those situations. But more importantly, it's his ability to stay on the floor on the defensive end of the court. Because we see in the playoffs, and we saw it especially with Utah, with Rudy Gobert, is how difficult it is for a big man to be able to protect the rim and also be switched on the little guys and be okay. DeAndre Ayton has done that. And my fear, the reason why I think he is probably the most important person right now, is that they could get away. They did get away with not having Chris Paul on the floor for a game, and they won. And they can get away for stretches of not having Devin Booker out there, or not even having him play all that well, because after he broke his nose, he hasn't been the same necessarily since that happened and with Patrick Beverley on him. But I don't think they can survive without a big man like they have in DeAndre Ayton. I think if you pull him off of this team is much worse, especially given the way that he's playing right now. And that's not even to get into his burst of offensive production that he's had in the playoffs. He is a really, really special player right now. And I know that he's not better than either of those other guys, but he's more important because his skills are harder to find and they are much needed in the playoffs.
Well, Dominique, let me say this. You are right. He is a skilled big man, and I'm a huge fan of DeAndre Ayton. I love what he has done in this postseason for us anchoring the defense on the defensive end of on the defensive side of things, and what he's provided offensively. Nice touch around the basket. He's a lob threat at the basket. He has great footwork. He has it all, in my opinion. And no one ever questioned his skill set. But let me tell you why CP3 is the most valuable, okay? Because he brought something to this team that they were missing, and that's heart. That's toughness. He instilled that into these young guys, a winning culture, winning ways, how to sacrifice, how to put yourself last, how to lose yourself in the team. And that's what we're seeing. We watch this Phoenix Suns team play, and they play agenda-free basketball. They don't care who has to shine. They don't care who's leading the team and scoring that night. They just want to get the W. And that goes to how great of a leader and floor general Chris Paul is. Now, with that being said, when it's time for him to step up and rise to the occasion, let's not forget, before he left and went and had to go into that COVID protocol, what he did to the Denver Nuggets. All right, I believe he dropped 37 in the closeout game. But when you look at what DeAndre Ayton said post-game, he said it himself. The best thing that happened for my career was CP3 coming here. He said it himself. So with that being said, that's enough said for us who's the most valuable player. CP3 is a culture changer. He may not have won the championship yet, because I strongly believe that this is his year to win the championship. He may not have won it yet, but every organization he's touched, he made them a winning a culture. So to take a team from not making the playoffs in since 2010 and getting them where they at today, CP3 is the most valuable. He should have won MVP of the league, in my opinion.
All right, now that's a whole nother debate. But I think that the problem with giving CP3 all this credit for these intangible things, I think he deserves it. I love him as a player, and the few times I spent with him, he's an awesome person, and I can see how he could motivate people in that way. But when you're doing that, you're also taking credit away from Monty Williams. Like, it's not like they didn't win, 9 straight in the bubble last year? Like, they were learning how to play together back then. Like, this is not something that CP3 just introduced to them. Like, they were playing agenda-free, as you called it, basketball back then, right? Like, they were started to build this. Chris Paul's not the only one who does that. Monty Williams does that. And that's my point. That's why Ayton is special to me, because he's the only one on the team that they have that can do what he does, particularly on the defensive end of the ball. And his screening, I know it's not something that people want to talk a lot about, but the assists off the screens, like, that is a valuable thing that it seems like no one else on that roster can do or does do nearly as well or consistently as DeAndre Ayton. And you brought up the last series. Who was guarding Jokic? Like, that was Ayton. So I understand CP3's 37 points. It's impressive, but you watch that series, them not needing to double Jokic consistently is a credit to DeAndre Ayton. And Chris Paul, as great as he is, he's not having that impact on the defensive end of the floor.
Are you serious right now? Are you really serious right now? Look, Dominique, listen.
Okay.
I know you're watching the same. Do you have your return on? Are you watching the clips that are being played right now?
I'm watching the clips.
Okay, so in this pick and roll setting, when DeAndre Ayton is being set up for easy layups and easy lobs at the basket, who is setting these plays up for him on this return? Is this CP3?
I believe it's Chris Paul. It could be Cliff, but I think it's Chris.
It could be Chris or it could be Cliff Paul, right? From the State Farm, it could be Cliff. Right? It's Cliff Paul, right? You see what I'm saying, man. At the end of the day, I'm not taking anything away from DeAndre Ayton. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Before the season, I said he was going to have a breakout season. But Chris Paul, what he brought to that team, he brought that killer mentality. Before then, look, DeAndre Ayton last year was averaging 16 and 10, but he just brought the kill out of him. That's the difference.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And that's why I didn't focus on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I know that a lot of his points are created by Chris Paul being able to masterfully run that pick and roll. But I do think that he might have woken DeAndre Ayton up. But now that DeAndre Ayton is awake, he's more valuable to that team. And we've seen it.
All right, well, only one game away from advancing to the finals as far as the Suns are concerned. And historically speaking, teams that are up 3-1 in a series have a 95.1 chance of winning. So things are looking good for CP3, DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns. All right, guys, let's keep it moving. We still have a lot more to get to right here on First Take. Jason Kidd will be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Coaching vacancy was filled with the Trailblazers announcing the hire of Chauncey Billups. Now, according to sources of our Adrian Wojnarowski, the deal is for 5 years with the former LA Clippers assistant that includes a team option on the last season. Now, Billups had an illustrious career in the NBA, winning the 2004 NBA title with the Pistons in the Finals MVP award. A 5-time All-Star, he's the only player with a winning record against Michael Jordan, Kobe, and also LeBron. Now, along with Billups' hire, Jason Kidd was named the head coach of the Mavericks last Thursday. Now, both have amazing resumes. However, off-court issues have led to questions surrounding their hires. In 2001, Kidd was arrested for suspicion of hitting his wife and pleaded guilty to spousal abuse. Then in 2012, he also pleaded guilty to a DUI. Billups, on the other hand, settled a civil case in 1997 when a woman alleged that he and his former teammate Ron Mercer raped her. Criminal charges were never filed, but according to police reports, a rape kit examination displayed injuries consistent with sexual assault. The Blazers have looked into the matter again before hiring Billups, and they were able to not really draw up anything new. But Perk, you got to look at all of these factors. Are these hires a bad look for the league, would you say?
No, it's not. You know what's a bad look in the NBA to be writing these articles at this time. That's what's a bad look. Because guess what? When Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups, when they were the product and they were put on the shelves and they were selling out and they were making money and they were around here delivering championships and making all-star games and selling out jerseys and signing autographs, everything was all fine and dandy when you were the product. Now all of a sudden, when two African Americans have learned from their mistakes, and when I'm talking about Jason Kidd, he learned from his mistakes. He had 2 head coaching hires since then. He was an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Lakers, won a championship. Nothing was said. This man has changed his life. Rick Carlisle endorsed him. Dirk Nowitzki endorsed him. Not a word was said. And when you look at what Chauncey Billups has done, all right, finished a hell of a career, assistant under Ty Lue, worked on our network at ESPN and was a hell of a commentator, did a hell of a job. Should have been a GM in my eyes instead of being a coach because he's that great of evaluating talent. That's how special he is to the game. But soon as African Americans can take that leap and get in place of power, this is when it all starts to come out. This is when these writers want to start bringing up people past, like everyone don't have a damn past. I'm pretty sure we all have something that we done when we were younger that we wouldn't do again. Now, I get it. If with Jason Kidd's situation, if he was a repeated offender, and it was something that he was doing time and time again, okay, I can see that. But this man has grown from that. Chauncey Billups wasn't accused of anything, no criminal charges. Let it go. Let these people get their jobs that they deserve and move on.
Yeah, I think that it's a different question of whether they should get the jobs or if it's a bad look. Like, I do think it's a bad look because particularly in Chauncey's cases, he was up against Becky Hammon, and it's a particularly bad look for the NBA, which is considered the most progressive major sports league that we have, at least major men's sports league that we have in this country. And for them to, and for two hires of guys who have been accused of mistreating women or sexually assaulting or hitting women, for them to get hired and Becky Hammon not to get hired, I don't see how we can argue that it's not a good look. And that doesn't mean that these guys never deserve to work again or that they need to continue paying a price for something they've been accused of or pled guilty to in Jason Kidd's case years ago. Doesn't mean that they can never rebound from that, but we do have to acknowledge it. And it's a story that whether it comes out now or comes out later or came out earlier, it's a story that's not going to go away. Like, it's going to stick with these guys for their entire careers. And I think I had a group text about this situation with a couple friends of mine over the week. And one of the things that came out of that I think was important and we should highlight is that the country doesn't really, and in Chauncey's case specifically, like our country, the judicial system hasn't figured out how to properly deal with sexual assault. And for the NBA, for us to expect the NBA to figure out how to do it is asking a lot. And we can go back to the previous president was accused of many different sexual assault incidents, and that didn't disqualify him from getting that job. So I'm not saying that that's the bar that we have to reach necessarily, but I am saying that I understand when guys or when anybody commits a crime or is accused of a crime, like there should be a process that we go through, which includes finding out or determining whether they are guilty or innocent. And then it also includes some punishment. And then when you come back from that punishment, then you are allowed to re-enter society and you're allowed to work again. It doesn't mean that you should be the head coach of a team or general manager of a team. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. But all those things need to take place. And I don't think that's a failing of the NBA. That's a failing of our judicial system more than anything else. But it does, I mean, to get back to the original question, it does look bad today to have that as one of the headlines.
Yeah, but Dominique, look, the situation that happened with Chauncey Billups happened when this man was 19 years old. That was almost 30 years ago. And then he wasn't found guilty. It wasn't like he had, you could go Google his criminal record and it's on there. Nothing happened, okay, at the end of the day. But you know what's even more disrespectful when we talk about being disrespectful to Becky Hammon, the women of the world? You know what's more disrespectful is that people are putting this out about Chauncey Billups when he have a wife and 3 daughters. How about the disrespectful stuff in that when people are writing these articles about him that is false because he was never accused in the first damn place? That's disrespectful.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I don't appreciate. I'm sure Chauncey doesn't appreciate it, but like the facts are the facts. Like the accusations were there. They brought up the accusations, and I don't think that it's disrespectful. I didn't use the word disrespectful. Like I don't think it's disrespectful to Becky Hammon or disrespectful to anybody. I just think it's a bad look. And whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. It's about the optics of the situation. The question is, does it look good or does it look bad? It looks bad for a league that prides itself on being progressive to have a woman in the running for the job, whether she deserved it or not. I'm sure she deserves to be a head coach at some point. It looks bad to deny a woman a job and then hire 2 men who are being accused of violent acts against women. Like it looks bad. It doesn't mean that it's go ahead, Perk.
But Foxworth, this is what I'm telling you, man. Listen, at the end of the day, J. Kidd had 2 jobs. He was with the Nets, he was with the Bucks, he got hired on with the Lakers. Nobody said a damn word. And at the end of the day, it's not about men or women when you're talking about hiring for coaching. It's who's better fit for the job, who the people want, who the coaches want, who the organization want. Damian Lillard said for the Portland Trail Blazers, when asked, he wanted either Jason Kidd or Chauncey Billups.
That's fine. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. And I like Chauncey Billups. I know him a little bit personally from Denver, and I liked him, but I don't know him well enough to know whether these are real or fake. But you brought up at the beginning of this how unfair it is, in part because they are black men. So I think you also understand that sometimes just because somebody wants to hire someone doesn't mean that they deserve the job. It's not an argument against Becky or against either of these guys or an argument for Becky Hammon, but just because somebody as a football player and someone who's been in the NFL, there's lots of black coaches who deserve to get hired. They didn't get the job because we fell back and we weren't critical of them. It's a whole nother conversation, but I'm with you on the point that you're making. Like it's uncomfortable for all of us and it is a bad look for the league.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with Dominique. I do think it's a bad look for the league. I think as far as the optics are concerned, I mean, I know that they did re-delve into that investigation and, tried to figure out what they could, didn't find anything else, and decided that at the end of the day it was more important to hire Chauncey as their head coach than anything else. So they went with that decision. But it also makes me wonder how serious they actually were about hiring Becky Hammon, because you talk about optics. Sometimes you have to wonder if teams really just say Becky's a finalist just for the fact that, this would make us look good to show that we're actually considering hiring a woman as our head coach. Were they actually really? I have no idea, but this makes me question that and really, truly wonder about it. So, guys, good discussion. We have to move on now, but we have a lot more to get to. here on the show. Trae Young is in the middle of a...
In the 18 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Luka Doncic. The Dallas Mavericks select Trae Young.
The Hawks and the Mavericks have an agreement.
Oh, what a finish by Trae Young. Fires one more dagger. Straight away, three, good!
Into the sheet.
How did he do it?
Here comes Luka.
Both Luka Doncic and Trae Young have put up big numbers to start their NBA careers, but Luka has the edge in points per game, rebounds per game, and has helped lead his team to a better record through 3 seasons. But Trae has emerged as a superstar this postseason, leading the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now some are questioning who would be the better player to start a franchise with. Now, Perk, I have a feeling who you're going to choose just based on your opinions in the past, but who would you start a franchise with, Luka Doncic or Trae Young?
Oh, me? We start with me? I'm going with Luka.
Oh, no, I said Perk.
I thought you said Perk. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Dominique. I want to hear what you got to say. Go ahead.
I mean, it's a tough decision because they both are great, and I think Trae Young right now is my favorite player to watch, mostly because he does the ice tray and because he bowed in Madison Square Garden. He got all the attitude that I want in my best player. But I'm going to go with Luka in large part because of NBA history. Like, he's a big guy who can play the point guard position, and that's what tends to win. It's not necessarily big guys that can play point guard position, but when your best player on the team is a big dude over 6'5", that's what wins championships in this league. That's the history. It's hard to argue against anything that Trae Young is doing and how deep they've made it into the playoffs this year. He's obviously doing better in the playoffs than Luka has ever done. But the first 3 years of Luka's career, he's been playing like a very mature veteran. I don't know if that's how he behaves in the locker room or around the team. That's a whole nother conversation. But on the court, he seems to make most of the right decisions. He seems comfortable in all these situations. He needs to get better on defense, obviously, but he's a big guy who can get his shot off at any moment. And that's why I would go with him, because there's really very little. We showed the stats. There's very little difference statistically in what you're going to get from either of these point guards. So I defer to size, which might be a bit of a weak argument, but I don't know where else to go with this one, Perk.
Well, I'm going to tell you where I'm going with it. If I'm a GM and I'm starting a franchise, I'm taking Ice Trae. You know why? Because I know one thing, I'm going to keep my job. I'm not going to walk away or get fired or let go. See, right now what's going on in Dallas, we don't know what's going on. The coaches is walking away, the general managers, the front offices. It's a disaster over there. And that goes to show me that something is going on in that locker room with their star player. When it comes down to Ice Trae, I'm looking at what he's doing and how he's doing it. Not only is he's getting buckets, but it looks like to me, guys love playing with him. I can't say the same for Luka. Porzingis look highly upset. Josh Richardson looks highly upset. Like, the difference between the two is that Trae could get others involved, and he could take a back seat and let others rock out. When I watch Luka, Luka has the ball in his hands 20 of the 24 seconds of the shot clock, and then he's passing the ball to a teammate and putting them in a bad position and saying, just catch and shoot. Trae Young, it feels like it's a joy to play with him. Yeah. So I'm going with Trae Young. Right now, what he's doing and got the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm a GM, I'm keeping my job because he embraces the role of winning and team guy. He's a team guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trae Young has a different head coach now than he did at the beginning of the season. So I don't know how secure your job will be if you're there with Trae Young either. But I do understand everything you're saying. You left out my man from University of Maryland, old Red Velvet, Kevin Huerter, who can cook too. They give him the ball and let him work. So I'm with you on all of that. But I think the difference is Luka holds the ball because they don't have those guys. Like, Porzingis is not the player that he was. I guess Hardaway is the guy you would want to give, but Hardaway is not the player that they have down in Atlanta. So I think that's what it boils down to. Maybe Porzingis in another situation will be different. Neither of us know. Maybe he'll be in a situation, maybe no matter what, he'll always play like James Harden did in Houston. But we see that James Harden has found another way to play with the Nets. So I'm thinking that Luka can do that in the right situation with the right players around him. That's all.
Well, Well, you talked about big guards, and you talked about, you got to be over 6'5", and that's what's going to win you games and keep your franchise above water. Did Steph Curry die? Because last time I checked, he's only about 6'2". Okay, so when I look at Trae Young, he's also a guy that's a smaller guard, but he's a 4-level scorer. Anytime you have to make an adjustment of sending 2 guys to trap a guy and it's not in the pick and roll coverage, that means you have something special.
Yeah, we'll talk about something special. Young has started each series this postseason, averaging 38.3 points per game in the 3-game ones that he's played in. That's the most in NBA history, and I have to say, he is very, very fun to watch. So I look forward to seeing what he does with the rest of his career. Okay, guys, let's move on. We're going to cap off the show with some football because we got to talk about some fantasy football that could be in your future. And we're talking about Kyler Murray and some possible domination. That debate coming up next. But so far, hasn't done enough of that in the NFL. After going 8-8 last season and missing the playoffs in each of his first 2 seasons, Murray says he is tired of it. He said, quote, emotionally last season was definitely frustrating, especially for a guy like me. I want to win. Not going to the playoffs is weird for me. I know it's the NFL and I haven't been yet, but I've always played past the regular season in every sport. It's different. I am definitely not looking to get used to that. So, Dom, do you think that Kyler is going to win a Super Bowl in his career?
I mean, probably not. Like, he's a very good quarterback. I think a lot of people expected him to take a bigger leap like last year into like the elite class of quarterbacks. He still can. He's not there yet. But the problem is it's so hard to win a Super Bowl and also kind of random. Like the Super Bowl is or the playoffs is not like the NBA playoffs where it's a series. It's a 1-game sample, and sometimes people get lucky and sometimes teams get unlucky. So I think Kyler Murray can have a great career. There's several quarterbacks who are in the Hall of Fame who haven't won Super Bowls. So it's not a knock against Kyler Murray. It's just really hard to get everything to work right at the same time in order to win a Super Bowl. So he could be awesome, but relying on or counting on betting that he's going to win a Super Bowl, I think is a little bit risky. He's not quite that good where you can just look at him and say, oh, this guy, there's no way that he doesn't win a championship.
Well, I'll tell you what. Look, he's from Texas, and one thing you can't count out is a Texas boy, all right? One thing you can't count out is a Texas boy. He's a winner, and to me, he keeps improving every single year. He got better last year. Yes, he has things he has to work on. But when you talk about the modern-day quarterback, a guy that could scramble out the pocket, that could rush and get you on a scramble 20 to 30, even 50 yards where he can't be touched because he's just that shifty and that quick, right? But when you talk about now what they added around him, he already had DeAndre Hopkins. Then you add A.J. Green. You got Christian Kirk in that wide receiving core. Lord knows if Larry Fitzgerald comes back, that might be the best receiving core in the damn NFL. And then they done beefed up on the defensive side of things. I'm not saying that they're going to win a Super Bowl this year because I got the Tennessee Titans winning it. But all I'm saying is that can he win one in his career? I believe he can.
Yeah, that's the Texas in you talking. Like, I agree with you that he can, but Willie, I'm not sure I would bet on it. And you're right, all your analysis is right on, and you're from Texas, so I expect that you know a lot more about football than the average basketball player. So you're right about all that stuff, but the challenge is, in the NFL, the division matters. And that division is so tough. So, like, you can only get one bye, and that increases your chances of winning the Super Bowl. So they are getting better. But the problem is everybody else in that division seems like they have gotten better, too. Particularly the Rams gotten a lot better. So it's going to be tough to even make the playoffs for them this year, especially since he's never been to the playoffs.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with Kyler, but we have a big game going on tonight, guys. Kawhi Leonard officially out for Game 5 tonight. The Suns just one game away from getting to the finals for the first time since 1993. So, Perk, who you got winning tonight?
Oh, it's over. Suns at 5. Look, I know Ty Lue, he's great with his back against the wall. He's come back from being down 3-1. I got the Suns winning this, closing this out in great fashion. The crowd is going to be rowdy tonight. Role players are going to be ready. And Chris Paul do not want to go to a Game 6. He's going to take this under control.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm with you on the Suns. The Clippers have had their chances to win and frankly have blown them. So I'm not sure that they're going to be able to muster up what they need to get back into a close game at the end. And with Kawhi officially out, obviously we knew he probably wasn't going to play. With him officially out and them down 3, it's hard, I think, for them to muster the energy, although Ty Lue has done it before, to come back from down 3-1.
Okay, and real quick, Perk, you think that Paul George is going to have a big game tonight?
I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it. I think they're going to be on this heels like
well, we will see what happens, guys. It's been so much fun. 1 hour, we did it.
But look, Dominique
Good to see ya. Let's do it again tomorrow. All right, guys. See you later.